Okay, well, we're going to go ahead and get started today. This is Paul Keller at C3 SoftWorks, and I've invited my colleague, John Dillon, who's head of product for C3. He's going to be kind of going over some key features of the new Bravo Assist. This is using AI technology to help you create content, create answers, create media, using this engine we call Bravo Assist. And important to note that this is new technology for everyone and new to the BRAVOZONE. So we'll continue to evolve the technology, continue to work with it, tweak it as needed, and we certainly welcome your feedback. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and let John take the controls, and then feel free to send me any questions either through the chat window or if you want to just chime in at any point. Your mic is off or unmuted, so you're welcome to ask questions on the fly.
Well, thank you, Paul, for the introduction. And everybody, welcome to this session. It's going to be a short session on creating dynamic quizzes in seconds with the Bravo Assist. My name is John Dillon, and as Paul said, I'm the product development manager, which means I have a lot of insight to what we've done with AI and what we're going to be doing in AI. And I'll share a little bit of that within this webinar. As I said, this is pretty basic, and I'm going to keep it pretty simple. My background, though, is I'm also years ago, was really involved as an instructor. So I bring a lot of classroom experience to the use of this. And I'm going to tell you right now, if I would have had Bravo Assist or a tool like this back when I was actively teaching paramedics and EMS, because I had to create my own content, which was very difficult and time consuming. This is going to make things a lot easier. It's not the end all, but man, it can really save you a lot of time. So let's go ahead and get started. Quickly, I'm just going to show you 2 slides before I go into the back end and show you just some things and some tools. What we're going to cover today primarily is using Bravo Assist for the question content, using Bravo Assist in the question. There is a slight variation between the two, advantages to both, and using Bravo Assist in the question editor, which is going to be very brief. And then I'm going to spend just a little time on AI for image creation, which I think is a game changer. And then along the way, we're going to talk about what's in store for Bravo Assist in the future. So I'm going to go ahead, go in the back end, go to my content here, and I already got content in here. But when you first open up a new session, you're going to be presented with the opportunity to create a session manually, or you can go up here and click on Bravo Assist and get a jump start. Now, I say jump start because as far as I'm concerned, you bring in your information, you're still going to have to whittle it down. You're basically building a structure, and it's still going to need some fine tuning. So you have 3 options here. You have text. You can type in a URL. Yes, you can do that here as well, but you can type in a question or just a topic, and it will go ahead and search multiple different locations for the information you need. I prefer to really be very specific in the information I use to create my content. So I'm going to come back to this in a little bit in the second part of my tutorial. Web page, pretty self-explanatory. You have a trusted source. Maybe it's a regulatory board, or maybe it's something on your website. Whatever the case may be, you can just put the URL link here, be very specific, and it will pull information from that site. Upload a document, and this is going to be updated next week to include other documents besides a PDF. Right now it's just a PDF, but in February of 2026, we're going to be including Word docs and CSV files, Excel files, etc. So I'm going to go ahead and choose file, and I have a PDF here. This is for a blog I wrote on weighted questions, and I have my source chosen, and then over here, how many questions do I want? For time's sake, I'm just going to choose 5, and then you can select what type of questions do you want to use. So I'm just going to stick with multiple choice, but you have the option of true, false, and other options. The creativity I'm going to talk about here in just in the second part as well. But you can change this from low, medium, and high. Create my question. And this is going to take a few seconds. One thing I did a blog on this. There was a great quote I saw on AI, and that was, AI is a great way to get you from 0 to okay in 60 seconds. But okay is very rarely the objective or goal we're going for. So and this is going to be a perfect example, and I'm going to show you here. So it's finished. It's imported 5 questions. Now you're going to be presented with the suggestions it's giving you. And as far as I'm concerned, these are suggestions. You're going to probably need to go in and modify some of the questions. Let's see if I need to do that. Okay, this is a perfect example. This happens quite a bit. We get a lot of this extra text according to provided text. To me, I would go in there, keep this question, delete this, or add a specific source. And just basically capitalize what is the key characteristic. And those are just some common things. Another common thing to look for, though this isn't too bad, is that AI sometimes, when it's pulling information, will create the longest answer being the correct answer. And if you ever really got into a good test design, you want all questions or answers to be somewhat similar in length, or you need to make sure you have, if you have it, one really long answer that's correct, you need to have at least one other wrong answer that's incorrect, so you don't get people, so people don't learn your test. It's like if you have one all of the above in a question of 10, usually, well, this is the only one I've seen so far, so this must be the correct answer. And by the way, AI will not do all of the above. And if you're happy with it, just click next. And then it's going to tell you, it's going to add your content by default to the session you have open, which I have dash, or you can just add it to your library and give it a name. I'm going to go ahead and cancel out of this because I already have content. So let's talk about the Bravo Assist in the question editor itself. I'm going to come down here and create a new question. And I'm going to go ahead and click on Bravo Assist. You're going to notice you have 3 options here. Clean up text, which is for existing text you have in. In fact, if you click on it right now, it's going to tell you enter some text first. This will clean up your grammar, spelling errors, give you some suggestions. But I want to focus on those to create question. And this is going to be slightly different than what I just demonstrated. And I can do a few things here. I can type in a web page. I can type in a topic. I can type in a OSHA fall protection. But what I would prefer to do with this is be very specific. Let's say I have a source. Maybe it's a PDF, maybe it's a document, maybe it's a web page, and I want to take a certain paragraph or two and just create a question on a specific topic. I really want to drill down on the information I want. So you can just paste that paragraph in here. And this is what really is really nice about the individual question. It allows you to really drill down to specifics. So you don't have to create 10 questions at a time. If you want more control, copy and paste will give you that control of your content. Now, I wanted to also demonstrate here, I grabbed something from Wikipedia months ago and I experimented with this. And I took the Apollo 11 and I changed all the names. Astronauts. I changed made myself the commander. Neil Armstrong was the commander, actually, but it's probably the closest I'm going to get to being an astronaut. And I made pilot Pippi Longstocking, who was Meeks, and then the pilot was piloted by Michael Bublé. Now, we're just going to use this as a source. What I'm going to demonstrate is typically, and there are some variations, we'll see what happens here. AI will use your source material even if it's incorrect. Now, sometimes, depending on the creativity, and I'll talk about that here in a second, it may actually correct you. One thing you can also do is, what type of question do you want? Multiple choice, which of course is the most common, a slide, fill in the blank, etc. I'm going to stick with multiple choice, and I'm going to go ahead and set the creativity to low. Actually, I'm going to set it to high, because I want this to be a creative question and give me some latitude and see if it actually uses my answers as the answers, even though they're incorrect. So let's see what happens. Now, one thing you notice in here, when you do it one by one, it's going to ask you, what do you want to do with your source material? Do you want to add it as a preview or summary slide? Which may be something you want to do to kind of whittle that down a little bit and use it to kind of review after a question or set up a question. I'm going to just add it for summary now, and you notice up here it's check mark, it's added, you have a summary. Let's see what the question, according to provided text, again, this is something you probably want to edit. And let's see what we have. So it actually used the answers I have. Now, what it did do here is Pippi Redlong, it actually said, okay, this is the correct answer according to the source. And what AI will do sometimes is it will go out to additional sources for distractors. So we had 4 answers here. There's only 3 names in the document I had. So AI went out and got another name. In this case, it actually pulled in the correct name. But it's going to say, okay, because I went creativity high, it's going to allow me some latitude to use the information I'm giving it. So it's kind of interesting. I just wanted to point out that AI will pretty much stick to the source you have for the question and the answers. Sometimes the incorrect answers, it will go outside to another source to help fill those distractors. And we all know the distractors are the toughest part about question creation. And by the way, if you don't like the question, just go ahead and rinse and repeat. Just go up there, create the question again, and add the paragraph or a different paragraph, and you can see what else it gives you. So you have options there. The one thing I haven't mentioned yet, I do want to talk about is, and really briefly, we have Bravo Assist here to build multiple content. You also have Bravo Assist up in the question editor. And the difference between the question editor and the question library is very simple. The question editor is where you can actually build content and edit it there. The question library is where you store questions. And the only editing you can do in here is deleting questions or adding questions from a session you've created. What's nice about this is if you have a builder license or higher, or we just have a question editor license, that you can have somebody come in and just create content for you. They're not creating sessions or games, but they're just creating content for you to use. You can give them a question editor license. And this is going to work just like the Bravo Assist here. Okay, let's talk about images. So I'm going to go up here, and here's an image I used. Now, I'm going to show you what I did here. This is kind of the end result. Any place you can put an image, you can do AI. So in case, if I wanted to make it my avatar, I can simply do this. Let me show you how I came to this, and I'm just going to show one example, and the rest will just show you some results. Okay. So I'm going to go in here, remove this image, go up and add a new image, and I'm going to type in man with red safety helmet. And I can tell you from experience, this will almost always give me a man on a construction site with a red helmet. And of course, you can put woman or any type of variable in there as well. So we did that. But what I want to do is really drill down. So I copied some text that I did. So I typed in man with red safety helmet, comma, with safety first on helmet, comma, smiling on white background, headshot looking forward in small print in lower right corner, right AI generated image. I mean, I really kind of put a lot of descriptors in there. But the more descriptors you get, the more accurate the image will be to meet your needs. And look at this. It created exactly what I wanted. And the fact is I could use this now as an avatar, but anywhere you use AI images, you can do this. So with that being said, let's go ahead and see some other examples I did. Here's one with the dog driving a forklift. I only had to do this once. It was a very basic description. So again, depending on your topic, you can really create unique images. I like to create unique images. That's something that's related to my topic, that's a springboard to my teaching points. To me, images are just like bullet points. They're something I can use to convey a message. Another example here, I got this example when I first was playing with AI months ago when the government was shut down. I saw this on a news site. I wanted to create a Capitol building with a chain and padlock around it. When I first started off, I said Capitol building with padlock and chain. Well, what it did is created a fence with the padlock and chain on it, and with the Capitol in the background. I had to put in a few more descriptors in it, and finally when I said large padlock wrapped around the dome of the building, I got what I was looking for. Now I want to show you, you can really create unique images. Here's one I created. My background is EMS, and this is something I would have used years ago. I said, I want an ambulance, looks like a taxi color. There's an inside joke with this for anybody in EMS that does transports. Sometimes you feel like a taxi. And get out of jail on the side of the ambulance. So this is what I put in as a description, and it gave me exactly what I wanted to create. So again, this is something that's kind of humorous, something my audience would get, and I was able to generate an AI. You know, there was a time I could have done this in Photoshop, and I'm pretty skilled with Photoshop, but it would take me a long time to do. This I did in a matter of 60 seconds. So that's it. Just kind of a quick introduction to AI. As I said, AI is a game changer. And when it comes to images, you may be on the fence about AI for using content for questions, but boy, I tell you, for images, it's a game changer. So we're going to have some updates coming up in the next week or so in February, and AI is just going to continue to keep evolving. With that, I'm going to probably stop here. We're going to open the questions and wrap this up. Thank you very much. And Paul, back to you.